To be fair. Let me take down the Eloise in front of you. We're going to sit by the fire tonight because we're just going to talk about getting ready for tournaments, getting painting, hobbying, what you should do, timetable, my own personal journey with my knobs and everything else that I've painted. Oh, I do want you to know that I'm taking more Brad painted models this weekend than I am borrowed models this weekend.
Nice. Good work, sir.
Yes, because I'm taking 11 Gretchen and 20 knobs of myself.
So I actually have some weird news. This has nothing to do with what we're designed to talk about tonight. I'm going to be doing a miniature artist box, and it's going to be a box through the art store. But I was approached by our social media and art curriculum person, and she was like, "Hey, would you like to do a miniature painting box?" I'm like, "Sure. Here's a list of all the crap I use. Can we come up with something from it?" And all kinds of art companies have come on board to help me out with it. Holbein being one of the big ones right now. So look for that coming in July. It's going to be something really fun, and we're going to be giving away one on stream as well. So it's going to be good. It'll be fun. There'll be
Awesome.
a bunch of stuff in a box. Yeah, a lot of hobby supplies for people. So it'll be a good time.
I'm juiced up to do that. To be honest with you, I've really enjoyed, which I again never thought I was going to be saying that, but I've just really enjoyed the painting thing. You know what I mean? I did get a little frustrated with the Gretchen, but I think that that's more because I can't see shit. Sniggs has showed me the way as far as when I showed me the magnifying lens, and I realized that there's a lot more stuff going on in models than I originally thought. So I'm going to get some magnifying glasses instead of just wearing, regular readers.
I can tell you, like, I went to the dollar store and bought, or well, it's $1.25 now, but anyway, and they have like some super amped reading glasses. Those actually work really well as well if you don't feel like spending a bunch of money.
No, I'm either going to get magnifiers or just up the prescription, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Because I just didn't know that there's certain details in the middle and stuff like that. Because one of the problems I have is I have issues seeing shading between two things. So okay. I literally start to discover that there's more on the model as I'm painting it, basically, when I start to get a contrast between things. So I have a hard time just seeing that there's details while it's all like painted primed white or black or whatever, you know what I mean, it is.
So are you doing like a zenithal highlight?
So legitimately, this is how I'm painting my stuff right now.
Okay.
I'm painting, it's all contrast paints, and I have no idea what any of the things are called. There's a green for skin, for the orc skin, and then I do...
So probably orc flesh.
And then I do the top, which is like all the vest and, with their up top deal, is a certain brown. And then there's pants brown. And then there's, I think it's snakebite leather. Whatever the darkest brown is, okay. I do for all the belts and the pouches. And I kind of do in areas where things go together so I can see the difference between it a little bit. So, and I kind of slather that on in certain areas because they usually break the torso and the legs apart and or the shoulders from the arms. So I use that. What's up, everybody? Pants brown is my favorite color. Nice. Exactly, Brad talking painting. Who knew? But but it helps a lot for me to get that darkest color on because I can kind of see, because I have a hard time, like I said, a hard time seeing shading. Hey, Anna, what's going on? And I like to use that. And then the color that I can really see all the time, orange. So I'm doing orange for like armor things, beards, face plates, nice. Things like that. Basically anything that's on. But I like orange a lot. I think it pops. Yeah,
absolutely. I plan on painting up. Zuber and I were talking about doing this. I think we're gonna use the slap chop method, and we're gonna do a whole ton of goth orcs here very shortly. Prepped and ready to go, rebased all of them because I haven't played my orcs in forever, so they were all still on 25s, and got them set and ready to go. Just need to slap some paint on them.
I'm excited about one of the things I decided to do, and I was talking about it a little bit. Everybody just said go ahead and do it. because I was like, I felt like I was putting a dress on a pig if I would get, because I really enjoy the good cool bases. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I was like, well, if I get cool bases for my not cool models, is that going to be lame? And I'm like,
Oh,
yeah. So, hey, what's going on? What's going on, everybody? I sent a green tide list over to Brian for you, Zoobs.
yep, I got the list, Zoobs. We'll go over it whenever.
There's a jaguar on the loose to get me through the jungle. I love it. But no, I'm gonna put new bases on all the guys, or when I get everything done, because my goal is ATC. Now the big thing here is, and I almost felt it a little bit just because I had to get those knobs done before I left this weekend over at Snakes. I don't want to put any timetable that's not a ridiculously far timetable, because I've been enjoying just having a glass of wine and drinking with Snigs, and we're playing some games, and you know what I mean, and painting at a very casual pace. And so that's been my thing, is like I don't want to put any non-fun aspect on my painting. You know what I mean?
That's one of the things that I always say to people when they're getting ready for tournaments, because we're talking about as well. Be realistic. If you're like, oh yeah, I bought this whole new army, I'm going to paint it up for the next tournament. If that tournament's a week away, you're just not going to be happy with your paint job, number one. And you are going to feel so much pressure to get there. Taking an approach like what you're doing, Brad, where you're like, I gave myself months to do this. I know how long it's taken me to do a unit. I'm pretty sure I can get it done in that amount of time. You'll feel so much better at the end of the project.
That's what the thing is. I don't want to do anything that's going to stop me from continuing to paint, is the thing. Because it took me, what, 2.5 decades to paint? So to paint real.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do anything that will take the joy away from me at all. And maybe I'm being a little weird about it, but I don't want to lose my momentum. No, exactly. Alan, you know what? Alan is literally one of the people that, like, I don't want to take away the fun, because every Adepticon, those guys are furiously painting at a top level and it looks miserable. And also Alan's insane because he's actually painted whole armies. I'm going to tell this story. So Mr. Pajama Pants is coming to Toledo and decides he's going to play World Eaters. And he goes, Brad, I want a list for this, this, and this, 3 different factions. So I make him a list for each one. And he goes, nah, I'm going to play 3 Khorne Lord of Skulls and Zerkers, and just prints them and paints them all in one day, the whole army, 2,000 points, and just shows up the next day from Chicago. And then this is the even crazier part. Alan plays in the tournament. We've got another day, and he's like, I kind of miss my wife. I'm just going to go home after we eat tonight. We eat, hang out. He drives back to Chicago. So he painted a 2,000 point army on Friday all the way into Saturday, drove 4 hours, played 3 games, went out to eat, and went back home in Chicago. Like, what is wrong with you? I know there's a lot wrong with me. He chose to have things wrong with him. Show us the models. I actually have the models. Hold on.
And by the way, on that, Brad, how are we coming on the Birria Taco GT?
Oh, I have to talk to her again. I did forget about that. I did eat the Birria tacos.
I know you did, you bastard. You sent me and Zoob's pictures of them. Telling you, if you get to Toledo, what's the name of the place?
El Camino.
El Camino. Just go get the Birria tacos, get some queso and chips, and just be happy.
I mean, it was hilarious though. I ate with DeFrank and his lovely wife Nicole, and we went over there, and they're like, "Well, what do you want to get?" And they go, "I'm gonna get the Birria tacos." I go, "I am also going to get the Birria tacos." So I'm like, "This is happening." Here, let me put up 20 knobs. These are my knobs. I put them all together. I did 10 of them on Sunday. That's the knob situation.
That's fantastic.
I'll scooch it over here. But I even painted the sides of the bases black for you. By the way, there's a bunch of shit that I didn't even realize. Like, I started painting black on the bases because I go, I guess I have to do this because I was told I was supposed to. And then I painted it, and I told the Frank and Snakes, I'm like, hey guys, do you know how much difference it makes when you paint the side of the base black? And they just look at me like, yeah, man, like, thanks for telling us water's wet. Any other insights you'd like to give to us, you idiot? Like, just thanks for again giving us all the things.
DeFrank's a good dude.
Oh, dude, DeFrank is. I know for sure I have my whole army now, because between Snigs and DeFrank, they went through model by model to make sure that I had all my stuff with me before I left, so I didn't show up with 10 Gretchen or no truck, because I almost left with no trucks. So,
Well, that would be bad.
oh, it was fantastic. I actually have the whole army ready to rock and roll. I do have to put my Orc Codex in here, so I'm good on that. The Zoob's paint, you got to have it painted up, man. You know, it's so weird, I am a snob about that. Yes, my Meganob kits are in the mail. Awesome sauce. I gotta. Do they have enough? Because they have enough in each box, so I can make each guy. Because I think I want to put a kill saw and a claw on him, so I can do either one when I attack. Because
you can do that.
Listen to this: the Dollar General Land Raider Redeemer, 2 times Malignant Playcaster riding and Death Guard Rhino. Perfect. You know what I've done a lot of lately, and I'm gonna do more of it. I'm gonna shamelessly promote my coaching. I also put it in my new 40K email, but I like doing I love when 2 people get together and I get to oversee it, because that's literally how I play. 90% of my games I don't play. I watch over games like a lifeguard and then nitpick and add my 2 cents. And I want to do that more and more. That's something that I love coaching on, is just effectively deployment and first turn takes about 3 hours most of the time, because you keep resetting it. It's fantastic.
Yep.
You learn so much. I had Sean and Matt Dennis doing a game just yesterday, 2 days ago. I don't know. Time is meaningless to me. And I love going over these things. And it's something about getting ready for tournaments that's such a big deal, because getting ready for a tournament is basically a lot of homework and very little anything else, because you should be ready to go. It's like practicing for any sport or event or anything. You know what I mean? You should already know what you're doing before you come in and do it. Not all of us can walk in Alan style and just go, "Hey guys, what's the game we're going to be playing? I'll figure it out as we go." Like, everybody else should be prepared.
And that's a big thing. Like, one of the things I tell people is when they are doing what I'm going to call I play twice a week. I change my list every time I play.
Sorry, the quote. I like when 2 people get together and I watch. That's going to be clipped.
Yep.
Continue. Sorry, I just saw that.
That's perfectly acceptable to interrupt on. One of the things I tell people is, like, if you're changing your list every time you play, right, you're not getting used to a list, or you're not learning what that list is capable of and not capable of. Give it 3 or 4 tries.
And also, you gotta change small things. Oh man, because most of the time I tell everybody, after you look and you got a couple weaknesses, you have to ask yourself, is it my list? Is it me? Is it how I played the list? And the answer is yes. It's probably a little bit of both. Because you look at, I've been talking to people right now. This is a big thing going into tournaments. You're gonna play Bully Boys. People are like, oh, I had a problem playing this, and you see certain people that didn't, but you have to know how to play it. It's the same thing when you're playing knights and things of that nature. You have to make sure that you have the proper resources to move block, because Bully Boys isn't just line up and kill them. It's hold them with Megadobs in the corner.
On 1 second, Brad.
Oh God, what do we got here? Oh, probability $2 for the Mario Taco Fun. Go blue. Those were delicious, by the way.
I wouldn't steer you wrong. I mean, we're fat guys. We like food.
Oh, it was fantastic. We were doing that and hanging out. But it's you have to have a game plan against these armies that are tougher for you. I mean, one of the great things we did over the weekend, we had DeFrank and Snakes playing. Snakes was playing Thousand Suns and DeFrank was playing Green Tide. And it just seemed like the worst match for the Thousand Suns. But then we kept workshopping. Okay, what should we do? Hey, if you have your 2 big things, your Magnus plus your either Demon Prince or your Vortex Beast, whatever, you have to be pretty aggressive and grab those big units early, and then you can focus down the ones that don't have the Pain Boy, and start chewing up ground. And positioning the flamers to go, hey, I'm going to overwatch the shit out of you. And maybe, again, so like we started figuring it out and like, okay, this is how you play against this. Because you don't want to go into these tournaments and go, okay, what's the answer against Green Tide? What's the answer against Bully Boys? What's the answer against Tau or Unicrons, whatever? Because a lot of those armies, I think, are just how do you play against it? Hypercrypt, for instance. I think that army had such a big ring rate because people were just chasing it around. You know what I mean? It was like chasing your own tail. And I think that it's a big deal to get ready for things. Plus, if every moment you spend preparing is more time you'll have to drink your wine because you'll be more relaxed. You won't be worrying about things. You'll have more time. This is a big thing. The more time you prep, the more time you'll have in game because you know exactly how you want your models set up. You know where you're going to deploy, so you can do all the little bullshit faster. It's one more time in the game.
One of the things, and Zuber's completely right on this. Experience is a thing you get just after you needed it.
100%.
If you spend the time going, like I'll use this example. I watched a game at the store, whatever morning it was. Imperial Guard player playing against Orc Bully Boys. Imperial Guard player had 3 basilisks, and I'm like, did you not slow him down? He was like, well, yeah, I had to bust the trucks. And I'm like, you didn't shoot the mega knobs on foot?
Yes.
Just make them go,
just stop them. Like, that's the thing is like, everybody thinks I have to kill shit. And you have to kill some, but most of the time, it's stopping shit. Like, when I'm playing Knights, not on everything. One of my games against the Knights. But, like, you basically hold them on one side and you hit the flank. But you don't have to kill everything, because you can't kill everything, And people are like, oh, I had a bad turn of dice and this and that. I'm like, well, don't have a bad turn. Just literally hug them. Like, you're playing Tau against Bully Boys. Well, your Kroot should be 1.1 inches away from Mega Knobs going, not yet, hold, steady, hold. You're just doing absolutely nothing. But the thing is that you also have that confidence. 100% murder, exactly. And again, they're right. Murder Hammer is for inhibiting your opponent's scoring. Mission Hammer is how you score and how you win. Like 1,000%. People get into like these whole things of, it used to be when Tau used to have the big boys of Crisis and stuff, and they had a couple big things, and people are like, how am I going to beat this? It's going to kill my stuff. And you're like, I just killed all the little shit. You know what I mean? Same thing with a lot of the other things. You just go, are they going to cleanse with a 600 point unit, with a character? You're like, probably not. Jesus, Alan, of course. Lord of the Rings event Saturday. Army not built and have not played a game in 5 years. Let's go. Just fucking Jesus.
All right, so I got a question for you, Brad. As we're talking about preparing for tournaments, and this is way off base from talking about summer tournaments. Adepticon next year. It's in Wisconsin.
It's not a big deal for me because I already have a decent enough drive, but it's a big deal there's two things that are a big deal for me, and I don't know how it's going to play out, because it's a big deal for people that like Alan and Mitch and my team. They're all local guys, you know what I mean? So Adepticon is, hey, I'm going to go 2 feet down the street kind of thing. Yep. And that's super easy for them. That makes a big difference to them, people that are local, but also the people that fly. Milwaukee is not Chicago I don't think O'Hare is exactly the same as Milwaukee. And that's a big deal, because before you could fly into O'Hare and then just get an Uber or whatever, over. Now you kind of have to go, hey, I'm going to fly in, rent a car, figure that kind of stuff out, because you got to drive up to Milwaukee. While it's not super far, it is one more step. You know what I mean? Yep. So I think that's going to be a big deal. Now, is that going to hurt their stuff? I don't know, because they were maxed out in everything, like every single game system, every single seminar. That's why they had to go to Milwaukee, because they needed a much larger venue. Yep. So it's a big deal on that. So we'll see.
As someone who books venues and goes through all that, it is so hard to find a venue sometimes. Like Syracuse, ridiculously difficult to find a venue. Like Rochester, also ridiculously. Like we were looking at doing another one out towards Buffalo to kind of get closer to Toronto and Ohio and everything else. And I was like, yeah, great. This place has everything we need. And we went to them and we're like, and how much does it cost? And they were like, $1 billion.
$1 billion.
I was like, you realize it's just nerds and tables, right? You're not. I was like, does that include food? And they were like, well, if you get food, we can do that, and we can talk about changing the room rates. And I'm like, no, I don't want to spend more money.
Yeah.
I was like,
Which is crazy on that. I always thought it was so weird that some of the hotel and venues wanted to keep their insanity hotel rates. You're like, you do know that people will just buy more stuff if you make it slightly more. You know what I mean? You can make it like much more than going to a restaurant normally, but you can't make it ridiculous, or people will either leave or just smuggle their food in, which is what they do now.
Yeah, smuggle their food in, smuggle their booze in. The venue loses out by doing those crazy things.
Corey with the $5 super chat. Did you see the SNES listed Gold Hammer GT from Sharon Peters? No, I have not.
No, let's go look that up.
Yes. Is it a cool list, a cool army because it's painted super cool, or both, or either? If not, if you have pictures, send it to me. It's Forrest Gump's voice. Any advice on downsizing armies because the Nurgle crouch goblins are multiplying? Never downsize your army. I've always been upset every time I've lost and or sold something, and later on. I just wanted you to say Shane Peters. Real men murder hammer.
If you're gonna, like, as someone who owns absolutely way too much stuff, if you're gonna downsize, just choose to downsize that entire army as a total and go, all right, I don't have fun playing this army, I don't pick it up, it's time to move on from this, and then immediately take those funds you get from that and flush out your other armies and fill them up.
You know, talking about where you go, because OnePlus was just talking about the budget for things. I'm not as big. I don't really care as much about what I'm getting as far as swag and stuff, and I'm a few and far between for that. Most people really enjoy what they get. I look for more. Do I have a lot of rest? Do I have a place that I'm going to go with a lot of people? Or is there food nearby? Is there a bar near? Is there a bar on site? I like one of the things I liked about Salt City is we all gathered together, and you made it that we gathered together. Old Nova at the older hotel, I liked it because things were very close and we had food right there. There's a lot of different places I go to that have very convenient food, cheap hotels. I like the Gemhammer guys ran a nice event at the hotel next to the army base because everything was very cost efficient. You know what I mean? And it was really nice to go to, and everybody went to the same bar/restaurant deal. It felt like an old tournament. It felt like we were going back to Du Bois back at the college or something. You know what I mean? That kind of feel. But like, I'm looking for kind of the most bang for my buck. If I don't want to spend premium for not premium, you know what I mean? So that's always been one of my problems when I travel far to an event. If it doesn't give me a lot of because I go to events to hang out. I don't go to events to play 40K. That's something that also happens. So it's like I want to have more stuff. You know what I mean? What's the bang for my buck? You know what I mean? Because there's sometimes you go to places and you're spending $1 million on every glass of wine. Your room was crazy and there was nowhere to go to eat. Those places can have a nice venue, but like if you don't have the stuff that goes with it.
Gold Hammer GT in Best Coast.
100%. Anna's events are fantastic with Maria. Anna and Marie put out a great spread. There's a buffet of food. They say it's a table. It's a buffet of food. Out. We've got there's a place right next door. They're talking about linking it up for the summer. It's the small things. You want to have food and beverage for not a ton. You want to stay somewhere for not a ton. You want to enjoy yourself and not break the bank. And I'm not looking for a million free things or too much prize support or anything. I just want to hang out. Anna's place was fantastic. I cannot stress, if you're near Montague, Michigan, the Wild Hunt GTs were a great time. Huge spread of food. Everybody's chilling. It's a nice space. That's the thing that I look for. I don't need anything super crazy. I just want to have a good time for what you're paying for. You know what I mean? It's fantastic. 100%. It was just great. We had so much food. It was fantastic. Yeah. We just had a great time on that.
Yep, that's like one of my favorite GTs that I've ever been to was at there was a hotel next door, so it was only a short, like, one building away walk, and it was at a VFW. And I don't know if you've ever been at an event in a VFW.
Oh,
Their prices are
oh, they're
amazing.
like 2 cents. It's crazy. Gary Frank ran the armed forces at the VFW, and we drank a lot. And at the end of the day, before we were getting ready to go to the hotel, I'm literally I have to go back. There's no way they charged me for everything that I got, because I had brought, a couple rounds for people and stuff like that. And I just go back and they're like, no, that's our prices. And I'm like, are you sure? I feel like I may have stole something.
Yeah, I am hopeful that I can find a place like that for an event at some point in time soon, because that would be fantastic.
Those guys have put on a great event. I mean, VFW halls are fantastic.
Yeah. And you're donating to a decent cause, so it's nice.
1,000%. Yeah, I mean, I love places like that. And the thing is that this is twofold. This is for you and for everybody else. As people that go to tournaments and help, not at all, I show up, you have to give real constructive criticism. You can't, I can't stand when people just throw out this sucked or this sucked, and they don't tell the person, or they tell the person terribly to their face about how they hated something. No, tell them the things that you liked and things you don't like, but be a real person about it. And as the person running it, it is important that you track people down and get what was good, what was bad. Basically, do my old unbroken. What was your MVP and who's on the chopping block? With the experience itself. It's a big deal on that too. Matt, VFW halls are amazing. You're biased. He's cheating. He's already part of it.
I mean, one of the things I can say is Brad Norton got.
Yes, we did.
For Sharon Peters, you are correct.
We were
one of the things I
docking.
can always say about events, like I've gone to a lot of events in my years, right? And when someone goes, "Oh, what did you think of the event?" and if my first response is, "I'm gonna go back," that means I had a good time. It was fun. If I go, maybe, that means that I had an okay time, but it's not something I'm looking forward to. If I go, yeah, I'm not gonna head back to that one, it's because there was something about the event that just wasn't right. And it may be a different variation of things. Like I've gone to events where it's like, hey, I went to the event and they ruled things differently every round and the judging was not great. Or, hey, the venue was bad. There was one stall and like one bathroom in the back corner that after an hour of gamers being around was it's a variety of different things. But anytime any TO has ever asked me or sent out a survey afterwards going, hey, what can we do to improve? I'm always going to tell them the truth.
And that's big on that. But I think it's really important as tournament goers that you communicate that. I've been to multiple tournaments where I'm like, hey, it was really hard to get food. You know what I mean? Could we do food trucks? Could you tell people that we're coming? You know what I mean? That's a big deal also.
Yep.
Hey, we just, you want the local places to be ready for, hey, there's going to be
like,
40, 50, 60, 100 people, tell people that so we can have that.
This week for Salt City, I legitimately, besides the hotel that has food itself and explaining to them how people are going to be there, there's a ramen pho takeout place like across the street. I went to them and went, hey, just to let you know, on this weekend, there's going to be a lot of people here. They might want to come over and get food here. Do you want to be in our little flyer saying, hey, local food? And if I do that, I just want you to have staff so they don't have to wait forever. And everything was really nice. So
it's important to do all those things. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you should have said he wanted a different beverage, Oops. People offer me beer all the time, and I'm always like, can we do whiskey or shots or just wine, of course.
Yep.
That pho restaurant? I'm down with some pho, to be honest with you.
Yep, this is it. So,
or sorry, it is actually
a little different of a hotel. We're at a different hotel this year. So it's a different restaurant, but I've actually gotten lunch from there. It's so good. Super good. And then there's this amazing New York style pizza place right down the road. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a good venue. There's like 5 or 6 places in walking distance. It's fantastic.
We're going to go with the big question here. How do you guys prep for team tournaments? Wildly differently depending on how your There's a regular thing that you're going to do for teams all the time, which is you're going to try to put the right people on the right lists, which means people that know the lists. Never just put somebody on the list and hope for the best. It always turns out poorly, even if it's a better list. But preparing on it, you have to get accurate data. You have to figure out who's good. Hey, Orton, how do you play into this? Oh, you know what I mean? You have to get real numbers on that. And then you have to do a little bit of practice on it. It could just be practice pairings and stuff. And then you practice on that. Because there's no point in Brian practicing against knights if we decide that his army is specifically never going to play that and he's going to defend and we're just going to not have him play that. So you can actually practice into not that, you know. So it's a big thing. Now, what I said is wildly different because it depends how serious you're taking the event, because how much time you're going to spend getting ready for it is a big thing, because you have to have real goals and expectations for your team. If you're bringing a bunch of new players, well, it's going to be way more chill. It should always be fun, period. If you're going to a team tournament and you're not having fun, you're being too serious, don't do that, you know. So like, but you have to figure out like how hard you're going into something. Are we bringing more fun lists? Are we bringing the meme lists, just things we love to play and aren't just the best to bring? Or are we trying to make sure that we are bringing the best team possible with the best list possible with the best people on those lists? That's a different situation than just I'm showing up to teams because drinking with my friends playing 40K is fun. You can also do at a high level, drink with your friends and have fun. I'm not saying those things can't happen, but it kind of becomes what your expectations on that, because it's also how much time does your team have to get ready? Because optimally getting ready is having a full matrix of this is how my list does against this army, this faction, and you should basically have it adjusted for mission and deployments, you know what I mean? And obviously you're gonna figure that out, what missions are in the packet for that team or for that tournament. So that's a lot of preparation, is because you want to get there and know what's expected of you also. Because if I defend first and I take out, and I know that's my role, I know that I'm just trying to get points all the time. I'm not pushing for big points, which means that I'm going to play in a different way. I'm going to play very defensively. I'm going to play to not go after them. I'm going to play just sitting there so I can score points against anything. If you're an attacker, you have to start pushing the envelope because you're expected to get bigger wins, but you're also going to take better matches. So that, and the thing is that preparing for the tournament has to involve figuring out who is in what role, so you don't have the armies that can't do what you want them to do in the role they're trying to do. And that's really one of the main preparations is not having people on the correct things and knowing what they're expected of. And that comes with practice in your team meeting. Or with Anna, give Anna 36 hours notice that you need her. We may or may not have done that. Also, figure it out. What am I playing? This army that we already submitted. Would you like to make changes? Too bad. It's already there.
One of the things I can say about prepping for a team's event, if you are just going to have fun, your entire purpose in going is, we're not there to win. I want to hang out. I want to enjoy time with my friends, and I want to, play some games of 40K. If we as a team go 500, I am ecstatic. Then have some fun. Talk about what list you guys want to bring. Do a little bit of editing to them, because you don't want someone to bring something that's, like, okay, that's never going to win a game. You might want to talk about that. But when you get there, just go, hey, what are your guys, before you guys get there, I should say, talk about, hey, what are your bad matchups? What don't you want
get together?
What's the thing that's not
I love
your
when two people,
and it depends if you're talking 5-man or 8-man teams, because that varies quite a bit. But just have some fun. Enjoy it. It's actually a really good time. It's one of the best tournament scenes you can go to. Ooh. And just think, we just ran BFS teams. The top team, the team that won the event, went 3-0-2.
Yeah. And it's a big deal. And the thing is that you have that, people have to realize in teams, one of the biggest things is every time you're playing for points, which means that you're not going for it when you're in a losing situation. If you have a 15% chance to win, if you go for it, you're never taking that. You're just going to pull back and get points, because 4 points out of 20 sometimes is the difference between winning or losing. So it's a big deal.
And as we broach the new season of 40K, because we all know what's coming. If you haven't seen the Warhammer Community article, please go check it out. The new style gambits, which are not called gambits, they're called something else. Hey, look, there might be a time where that 20 points is going to be really easy for you to score.
They actually semi make sense now, too. I want to go to the super chat real quick. Corey comes in with a $5 super chat. Do you guys think that we will see an entire teams with Horde skew lists at ATC? Yes. I think you could do it easier in the 5-man, but like when I'm looking at lists right now, and I tell people all the time, like when I coach people that are going to the team, if you're running, especially in the 5, you should have 2 hordes at least. Anytime you have a skew list, you should have at least 2 of them, because you need to trap people. Having 1 horde, 1 big guy list means nothing, because if Brian's weak to horde and he defends, he'll just reject the horde and take the other one. You have to be able to trap people. And Alan and I talked about this for a while, of bringing full horde lists, because a lot of teams don't have armies that can take on full hordes. Because like there's just a lot of armies that don't have enough bullets to take care of, plenty of hordes, especially if you're able to, like I said, attack in them with 2 at a time. It's a huge thing.
In the 5-man teams, could you go whole hordes? Because 3 of them come to mind really fast.
Oh, it's just Tyranids, GSC, Green Tide. You could do Admech Horde.
Admech.
Yeah.
So what's the 5th?
I would just do guard.
It was guard. Yeah.
Guard. You just do you put max guys with tanks behind it, and there. It's so big. 100%. Green Tide. Here we go.
Yeah.
But what are your 5 factions right now? That depends what I'm trying to do, Anna, to be honest with you, because there's so much parity right now in the factions that I'm looking for people that are the best at playing that if they're on my team before I do anything. Because I want somebody that's really experienced with each thing that I bring. Because, I mean, right now, I think that I'm always going to put a Necron on my army. I'm always going to put an Orc army. And one, I like Orcs, but also I think that they have the Green Tide's just a disgusting detachment. And so is the Bully Boys if you're looking for somebody that attacks. So they have a defender and an attacker. So I'm going to put those in all the time. You're going to play some sort of Marine almost always. They're just some, and the reason is there's multiple things to choose from when you choose just Marines as a broad scope, and you almost have one player that plays a ton of Marines. You know what I mean? So it's a big deal on that. With the new Chaos book coming out, I can see myself going back to CSM being an auto. You know what I mean? So those are 4 right there, and then I kind of have a flex spot.
So Brad, I completely forgot. You could do Tau Horde.
You can do Kroot, and that's the thing is I told you we played that. We literally played 2 Storm Surges and a horde of Kroot. Brandon's actually thinking about doing it, and he's not going to just, we kind of memed it up with 2 Storm Surges, but he was talking about doing, the full Storm, Sky Ray, Piranhas, some suits, package, and 1,100-ish points of Kroot, which is, 140 models or 50 models, you know what I mean? So 100% on that. I think you could definitely... the thing is when you put down a horde, for me a horde is $150 or more models, especially if you have regen and stuff like that, because you want to just bog people down and grind. Because the thing is that any horde, even without the killiest shit, is going to start taking out resources of your opponent. And then especially if you have regen, if you have Kroot coming back, if you have guards coming back, if you have Endless Swarm from Tyranids coming back, people just start to lose that shit that was able to kill you in the early game, and you just kind of late game just grind them down where they don't have resources.
That's like I keep thinking, and in my head I'm like going over this horde list, and I'm going, all right, so you go Tyranids, you go Sisters as well, because they have that crazy trade mechanic with their horde, Orcs, Kroot, and then that 5th one's the upfront option.
It's just, if you have somebody that plays GSC, I would do that all day long.
Yeah.
GSC is just fantastic. It's just you need a player that knows how to play it. But like that horde is gross too. They also have a huge volume of shots, so they can take out other hordes.
Yep.
So it's a big deal on that. So like it's a big Yeah, the coldest speedless, it could be a good defender too. I agreed, because you can just put people in the corner. The orc codex is just pretty solid right now as far as the detachments. They're all pretty good.
Carmona 30 warp talons on your list right now.
I'm going to tell Carmona list we played on Saturday. 30 warp talons, 2 havocs with las cannons, 2 vindicators, 2 predators, and then like some chaos lords and some legionnaires and shit. Those warp talons, I'm real weird about putting 3 of anything, because I a lot of times I'm like my Noah's Ark shit. But man, those 30 warp talent, or those 10-man warp talents, we were using the oath detachment. We're re-rolling a bunch of shit, and thank you. You could re-roll a bunch of stuff on that, and it was such a big deal because you could hit just hard, almost anything. It was just crazy because you basically just hit and then you just pop up. You're like, warp talons, deuces, I'm out, smoke bomb. Yeah. And it felt crazy because you just kind of rotated. You basically just put them back down behind a building, and then the next unit came up, and then you put them up, and then you put the other unit behind a building, and then you just kept basically rotating warp talons. Man, it felt nuts. Yeah, you think it's better in reading? I can see it
in the pack bound. That's the one that interested me.
I could see him in that. It just, like I said, it was the first time I was really looking at it. You know what I mean? So we'll keep going. But man, that army seems like it's going to be pretty nasty. And the reason I wanted all the predators and the vindies and the havocs and stuff is because you can take out hordes of shit and then also kind of pick up, whatever the hard target is with that many las cannons, or other big assorted shooting. It's a big deal in that. It felt pretty goddamn good. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for it because we're just seeing more new armies come, and more army types. Like, I think you're going to see some crazy chaos stuff. And and the thing is, what excites me right now is it looks like you're going to see, like, I'm going to play some War Horde this weekend, and you're going to see Green Tide, you're going to see War Horde, you're going to see Bully Boys, Tau. Are you playing Kalyan? Are you playing Manga? Are you playing, the Recruits Attachment? Are you playing Retaliation? It could be a little bit of everything. So I think we're going to see a lot of diversity in armies from the books that are coming out, which is really cool because we were seeing a lot of this is the list, you know what I mean, for a little while. So 1,000%. War Horde is a better name than Wa Tribe. So yes, all of the yes for that. So I'm just to play the orcs. I like the fact that it looks like we're getting multiple good codices, you know what I mean, out. And I do like
you know what I'm juiced for, Brad?
Hit me.
I'm juiced for everyone to like and subscribe to the channel. Outer Matrix, and they makes things even better.
Also, throw a comment in, everybody. It does help quite a bit. They get presented more if there's comments in there. So also, I'd like to know that Chance already clipped me with, I like when there's 2 people and I get to watch.
So, Carmona, I'm 100% waiting on the points for Chaos Space Marines because I'm really interested to see where they go with it. And I do like, they did put out a meta watch today for those of you who caught the, not all that informative of a video where they went, hey, we don't know where things are at, so we're not touching anything right now. We're not even talking about win rates. And I'm like, I kind of like that they took that approach with this one where hey, there's a lot changing right now. We're going to talk about it in a month.
Well, it's better than when they just touch shit to touch shit. That always kind of bothers the shit out of me, to be perfectly honest. If you have a faction that's winning at your magic rate, then leave them the fuck alone. You know what I mean? Just like literally don't touch it. Like, well, this unit's played maybe too much. Well, who cares? You know what I mean? Yeah. If the army is generally considered fine, leave it alone. If you have a weird broken interaction, sure, look at that. But I'll go back to what I usually say. Points usually don't fix things, mechanics do. It's just, you can't fix mechanics with points.
That's why I'm really looking forward to when they get around to the next data slate update, which is about 2 months from now. We'll get there. And I want to see what they do mechanically to bring up some of that stuff that's struggling. Who knows? We might have another codex by then because we do have that redacted one that's got to come out.
Are they going to murder Deathwatch? Or are they going to give him more stuff?
So my personal opinion is I think they're going to roll Deathwatch into that Imperial Agents book, and I think they're going to make him more interesting.
It's just Death Watch, the stories of Death Watch, and I know I'm a lore nerd about this, but like Death Watch is like SEAL Team 6 showing up. You know what I mean? Those guys are the
Well,
best
that's
of the best from all the different chapters.
if
And
you
they're,
want my
go ahead.
personal hope on this, right? They're going to kind of make them like Inquisitors. Like, hey, guess what? You got an Imperium army. You can take a Watchmaster, and
Well, that's how they show up. They don't show
a
up as an
couple of things,
army.
and just show up and go.
It's just kill teams show up as a kill team, not as a bunch of kill teams. You know,
Right. I think that's what they're going to do. Is they're going to put them into that Inquisition style of, hey, you can include these in your army. You can build an entire army of them, but you can just play them as, a Watchmaster and a kill team into your army because you need that whatever support it is.
also, I'm gonna make all the elf lovers, which I am one, mad because I still think that Harlequins should just be a supplement to Eldar. They always show up as that. Harlequins like barely show up. There's been a couple fights where they show up as as Harlequins, but most of the time they're showing up when the shit goes down. They do their terrible play. I don't say it's terrible because it's probably a great performance because they have magic, but shit goes down. When the Death Jester shows up, you're like, oh man, like things are going to be terrible tomorrow. Like these guys don't ever show up to go, hey man, we're having a good time. We just wanted to tell you guys to have a good time. You're like, no, they show up the day before everything hits the fan.
I hope they make Inquisitors great again, Michael. I own I think all of them as well. Fairly positive. I would love to see them be interesting. I would love to see it in not just an Inquisitor retinue. I'd love to be able to play an entire Inquisition army just because it'd be hilarious.
All right, Zoob's got me fired up. Twins disappeared faster than the Yanari storyline did. God damn it. They smoke bombed out of that goddamn storyline so fast. It's still unfulfilled.
So Brad, just to side quest because it's Thursday, listening to one of my favorite 40K things again. So it's this lovely story of the Gene Stealer cult and Admech, where a tech priest basically tries to convince the Gene Stealer cult to uprise so he can gain favor and kill the other tech priest who's in charge of the world so he can take over.
Yeah, that's probably not going to work out for you super well.
Oh, it's such a fantastic one. I'm trying to remember the name of the book right now. My brain's pulling off. Just pulling brain dead at the moment. But man, I'm so inspired by that book that I'm gonna make a patriarch that's like all tech marined out just because I think it's gonna be hilarious.
I haven't read that. I got to get that one then.
The Day of Ascension.
Got it.
Super.
I have to check that. That sounds awesome. That would also be a super awesome conversion to have a Gene Stealer army that's all super mech'd up, the whole army.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm looking at going, I have a lot of Gene Stealer cult bits. I have an Admech army. Ooh, some fun to be had.
I love converted armies. That's my favorite. I'm way more about conversions than cool painted. I love conversions. They just look so awesome. That is true, Bladed Cog. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I'd like to see him modded up even more, though. You know what I mean? I do love the fact GSC are still the most insidious army in the game. It's Absolutely. Just crazy because they take generations and they infiltrate layers of society. And it's just so crazy when the go time comes on. It's just such a cluster bomb of awful because they're cutting the power. They're cutting the light. They're cutting the water off. Communications are down. Imperial Guard armies units are bombing each other because they have units of guys that are turned. You know what I mean?
That's why I love this one. I love this book so much. The Day of Ascension is because it's legitimately Admech GSC. Yeah, it's so well done. Number one, I know you don't like Admech.
No,
but some of the way they describe the GSC is like they have one of the scenes. This lady just beats a tech marine or a tech priest to death with a wrench. It's fantastic.
The one guy, I love that. I go, that is true. They're also the cops. So when you call to get that, all of a sudden they cause just so much panic, and tons of they try to take over a lot of the high level positions too. So if they take over some of those, but the craziest part is they don't even get high up. They get people that are in charge of the day-to-day shit, like the defense grid and everything,
the mid-level operations
Yes.
where shit actually gets done.
Right. And they just shut everything down. It's just crazy. That's the problem. When GSC are completely victorious, they literally light the beacon and High Fleet comes and eats the planet, including them. You're just
the three-armed emperor shows up, and on the wings of angels, they climb to heaven.
Yes, that is so not what happens. Or you become paste.
All the GSC books I've read, listened to, they 100% talk about the three-armed emperor and the angels from heaven. It's fantastic.
Yes. They've got a couple ones. I've read the Karakin book. That book's great. Also, those guys are insane. Yeah. I think that's also why that's such a hardcore group of dudes, because every time they're constantly having some kind of weird intrigue going on every time they meet anybody. They're like, we should kill everybody and ask questions later. But that's why it's so nuts when you get those planets like that, you know what I mean? Because it goes down deep and it's crazy. Gene Stealers are also like insane with that, because they basically modify you at a genetic level. It's so crazy. You're just like, this is gross. You're like, well, it's going to be gross for everyone you know and all your children. You're like, oh no.
And then all of a sudden a biologist goes, hey, if we tinker with our genes and make them a little more mutated, we get these guys that turn into like the size of buildings and can destroy stuff.
It's just crazy on that. There's some really cool, again, 40klorecast.com. But it's one of the reasons I love doing it so much, because the 40k universe is deep as shit. We have just super cool stories and things that are going on. I love when people, I wish we still had to write the fluff pieces, and I know this is going back forever, but you used to have that blurb about what your army was, and I miss that.
That actually used to be like, I mean, it went to your overall score.
Yep. It was a set amount of points, though. You had to have it.
It was like, you had to, if you wanted to get those 5 points, you needed to put together at least a 1-page story about your army.
Yep. You put down the blurb.
It made sense to what your army had in it, or else they would deduct points.
Yep. And it's fun. Units characters. GSC has the most useful characters at the best point cost. None of them seem OP, but none of them seem overpriced either. It's hard to make a GSC army sometimes because of that. Because you're like, these characters aren't optimum, but they're also not bad. Like, everybody's like pretty good, and he doesn't have that much cost behind him.
Hey, look, if you're going to talk about
that's
GSC
true.
again,
my bad. The locust would beg to differ.
Can you just give us the limo? I just want the limo back. They had it in 2nd edition. Please give me my limo back.
Nothing wrong with that. But you know what? I'll tell you one thing I do like is the fact that out of AdMech, I do like the fact that AdMech have the Batmobile as their transport. There you go. It's also so hard to play with because it's so long and weird because it's the Batmobile. All of the good things some of the time. As usual, I always get sidetracked. I love it.
I mean, we came to talk about tournaments, and we talked about everything kind of here.
What's a big thing on that? I'm just getting ready because I haven't been to something in a little while, and I'm getting the Orc army together, and I'm going to 2 tournaments back to back because I did exactly what I said I wasn't going to do, and back to back tournaments. I'm like, for sure, with how way I am, I can't go to 2 traveling events, like actual flying and shit like that, back to back. And then I'm like, I immediately scheduled 2 events back to back.
Did you schedule it, or did someone schedule it for you, is the question.
I mean, I got there. I did fly to the wrong airport at first. I did that while we were streaming. I bought tickets to the wrong airport while I was doing it. That's how I roll.
Oops.
Rocky Top. Yes, good old Rocky Top. I am very excited to go to Rocky Top. They're hanging out at Brandon's house. I'm more excited for that because player place terrain makes me sad.
You get to hang out with Eloise and Brandon, which is always a good time.
The best is she keeps telling me that she's going to win this event for sure now because she's playing Sisters and practicing. She says it's a lock. Just don't even pencil it in. Put it in pen.
I mean, Brandon won Adepticon. If Eloise were to win Rocky Top, would that make them the power couple of 40K?
I don't think there's ever been a couple that have won GTs. Is that a thing?
I can't ever like unless you count Nick and Siegler as a couple from a team.
I mean,
Joke,
Nick and
folks.
Tony.
But if you an actual like married couple, no, I can't ever in my life remembering that happen.
Eloise first, Michael second, and rankings for Rocky Top. I love everything about this.
I'm a fan. So that's our pick for Rocky Top. We're all picking Eloise.
I could see that.
You guys are all. I mean, Brad's going to finish in Brad place.
I mean, to be honest, if I played Eloise in the finals, I would auto throw the game to her. So much fun here. I love that.
Now wait a minute. So I've met both of their significant others, so it's not a thing. It was just a joke.
Nope. Power couple. Love everything. All right, let's promote some stuff.
All right, so 100% got to promote the Salt City GT, thesaltcitygt.com. Go there, sign up for events. We are starting to see more ticket sales go. I'm getting more sponsors as I speak. I actually got a couple emails about it today. 40K, Age of Sigmar 4.0. Don't forget, we'll be using the new Pariah Nexus tournament pack when that hits. So it's going to be an absolutely fantastic time, played on GW modified terrain. It's going to be a fantastic event.
There's the Discord for us, 40K Lorecast. It is, these guys are always talking. It's fantastic. The Lorecast Discord is so active, and it gets some great discussions going because, well, it's Lorecast stuff. You know what I mean? So everything goes on from fan fiction to memes to just talking about the books, talking about, what's the best one? What is this? What could... Exactly. Lord Chat is popping. Yes. I'm going to be riding around like I'm in a Dreadnought with my cruising around with me. I'll be inside the overalls. That still might be one of my favorite pictures, is me in his overalls, and he's legitimately a foot and some taller than me.
All right, well,
on that note, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. And until then, stay milky, everyone.